POV. Everything was going smoothly so far. Alpha Drake, his beta Josh, and his 5 warriors arrived half an hour ago. I introduced them to my mother, Andrew, Sienna, and my head of patrol, Lewis. We were standing in the living room with drinks in our hands, waiting for dinner to be served. I was with Andrew, Alpha Drake, and his beta Josh. We were drinking my best whiskey and chatting about everything. "Your chosen mate is very pretty, Logan," Drake said. I looked over at Sienna, who was standing with my mother and chatting. She was wearing a red dress and red high heels. She was smiling brightly, and I couldn't deny that she really was a pretty she-wolf. I turned back to Drake and nodded. "She is. She's very kind. She'll be a great Luna." "I have no doubt," he said politely. "I wish I was as brave as you to take a chosen mate." "Well, I had to do what's best for my pack," I said quietly. He smiled and nodded. I noticed that he suddenly looked behind me and gasped, his eyes widening. "Goddess have mercy," he said quietly. "Who the hell is that?" I turned and looked behind me. What I saw almost made me come right then and there. Emma. She was wearing a black dress that let me see each and every curve of her small body. Her hair looked like silk, and it was touching her lower back gently. Her face was glowing, and I couldn't stop looking at her. I could see her smooth skin, and I wondered what it tasted like. Was it just like her smell? Strawberries and watermelon? My heart was pounding in my chest, and I just wanted to grab her and taste her. Andrew's voice pulled me back. "She's my sister, Alpha Drake." "Well, Beta Andrew, I don't think I've ever seen a she-wolf as beautiful as your sister," Drake said, lustfully. I turned back and narrowed my eyes at him. Leon was growling inside my head, and if he didn't stop staring at her, I was going to kill him. He hadn't taken his eyes off her since she walked in. "Calm down, man." Andrew mind-linked me. "You don't want to start a war." "I want to rip his eyes out," I growled back. "I'm not letting him touch her," he said, "but you need to calm down." I looked over my shoulder and saw that my mom was hugging Emma and smiling brightly at her. They started talking, and my mom led Emma to the bar to get her a drink. "Does she have a mate?" Drake asked Andrew. I growled quietly. If Drake wasn't busy staring at my mate and drooling, he would have definitely heard me growl. I wanted to kill him. "No, she doesn't have a mate, Alpha Drake," Andrew said calmly. "But she turned 18 just a few days ago, so she didn't have much time to find him." "She has a mate. It is us!" Leon was screaming inside my head. I ignored him to listen to their conversation. "I have to say I'm disappointed she's not mine," Drake said, still looking at her. "But she's the first girl that made me think about taking a chosen mate. Who wouldn't want her?" I was going to kill him. I clenched my fists and started shaking. "Logan, calm down!" Andrew screamed inside my head. "All due respect, Alpha Drake, but she should have an opportunity to try and find her true mate," Andrew said calmly. "If she doesn't in a few years, I won't have a problem with her taking a chosen mate. But until then, I must tell you, no." Drake smiled and looked back at him. "I understand, Beta Andrew. She's young, and she should have a chance to find him. Her true mate is one lucky son of a bitch. I would give anything to have your sister by my side, and I'm not just saying that because she's beautiful. I can feel how powerful she is. It would be an honor to have her as my Luna." After his little speech, I was stunned and out of breath. Hearing another man say that he would be honored to have her by his side was making me feel like the biggest idiot on this planet. "Thank you, Alpha Drake," Andrew said. "It is nice to hear you say that about my sister." I turned to look at her again, and she was smiling brightly. She was so beautiful, it hurt. I needed to touch her. Leon was going to get out if I didn't. I turned back to Andrew and Drake. Both of them were looking at my mate. Drake lustfully, Andrew with love. "I need to talk to Emma for a second. Will you excuse me?" I said, and walked away, not waiting for their response. I walked up to her and my mom. "Emma, can I talk to you?" She looked at me slightly confused, but she nodded. I walked outside to the back terrace and mind-linked Andrew to tell him not to let anyone disturb us. "Don't do anything stupid, Logan," he growled. I ignored him and closed our link. As soon as we were alone and out of sight, I grabbed her and pushed her against the wall. I placed my hands on each side of her head, trapping her. I bent down so I could be face to face with her. She was looking at me, wide-eyed. I could hear her breathing pick up, and her body unconsciously moved closer to mine. Fuck. "What the hell are you wearing?" I growled at her. "A dress," she said softly. Goddess, even her voice was turning me on. "I am the only one who should see you like this," I said sternly. "Why?" she asked me, furrowing her eyebrows. "You're not my mate anymore, Logan. There will be another man in my life who will see even more of me." "No fucking way!" I lost it. I grabbed her and pulled her to me. She gasped, quietly, and I could see her eyes widening even more. I leaned in and started kissing her. Goddess, she tasted so much better than I ever thought she would. She moaned, and I took the opportunity to enter her mouth. My tongue touched hers, and goddess, it was feeling like no other. She was sweet, addicting, and mine. She tasted just like strawberries and watermelon, my two favorite flavors. I didn't know how I would ever stop kissing her. My dick was rock hard, and I kept grinding my hips on her to show her what she did to me. I could smell her arousal, and it was driving me crazy. She wrapped her hands around my neck, and I moved my hand up and down her body, feeling each and every one of her curves. Fuck, she was amazing. Leon was jumping up and down. He has never been happier than right now. Everything felt right. She belonged here in my arms. She was mine. "Dinner is ready," I heard Mom's voice in my head. Shit. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to let her go. I wanted to stay here with her forever. She stopped kissing me and pulled back. We were both panting hard. She was looking at my chest, and I tilted her head slowly so I could see her amazing eyes. "You are mine," I said softly. "No man in this world will ever see or touch what's mine." She didn't respond, but I could see the pain in her eyes. "Dinner is ready," she said quietly and walked away from me. I followed her inside the dining room, and we both sat down at our assigned places. Alpha Drake, Emma POV. I was still shaking. I could feel his lips on mine and his hands on my body. Goddess, I never wanted him to stop kissing me and touching me. Nothing will ever feel that good. When I sat down at the table, I could see Andrew eyeing me suspiciously, and I gave him a little smile. I looked around the table and saw that Sienna was giving me a death glare. I kept thinking that everybody knew what we did outside. I took a deep breath to calm myself. Nobody knew. I was being ridiculous. My gaze stopped at a pair of brown eyes I haven't seen before. They belonged to a huge man, and I instantly knew he was Alpha Drake. He was looking at me with a small smile on his lips. What is your name, beautiful? He asks me. It's Emma, Alpha Drake, I said, and bowed my head in respect. Well, Emma, I was telling your brother earlier that I would gladly take you as my chosen mate. You are stunning, he said. Every wolf in the room turned to look at him. Everybody was shocked that he would publicly claim something like that. Mate issue, and especially chosen mate issue, was a private family thing. It was discussed behind closed doors and announced publicly when the bond was forged. I looked at my brother. Did he agree? I was terrified. Calm down, little one. I'm not letting him near you. I made it very clear to him. He mind-linked me, and I immediately relaxed. I turned back to look at Alpha Drake, who was smiling brightly at me. Logan was staring at him, and I was pretty sure he would kill him if he continued talking about making me his. Don't worry, little wolf, Alpha Drake said, when nobody else said a word. Your brother told me you still haven't found your true mate, and he wants to give you the opportunity to find him. But if you don't, please come find me. It would be a great honor to have a Luna as beautiful and powerful as you. Logan was going to lose it. He was shaking, and I was pretty sure that he was seconds away from shifting. For God's sake, he would start a war. Thankfully, Alpha Drake was staring at me, and he hadn't noticed that Logan is ready to kill him. Sienna was glaring between Alpha Drake and me, and I didn't know who she would like to kill first. He wounded her ego when he called me beautiful and powerful. Not that I was, though. I needed to calm Logan before he did something stupid. Logan, please calm down. I mind-linked him. I will never be his. His eyes snapped to me and I could see him relax. Thank goddess. I didn't want him to ruin an alliance because of me. And it was not Alpha Drake's fault. I was an unmated she-wolf. I was fair game. I averted my gaze back to Alpha Drake. Thank you, Alpha. You're very kind. He smiled brightly at me, and thankfully changed the subject. I looked down at my plate and started eating. From that moment on, conversation was mainly about pack business. Alpha Drake was interested in the way Logan was running things around here. I could feel Alpha Drake glancing at me all night long. Logan was watching him like he was ready to kill him any second. We had just finished eating dessert when Luna Gloria called my name. Emma, honey, can you give me a hand with something, please? She asked me. I smiled and nodded. Of course, Luna. I stood up and I could feel Logan's eyes roaming all over my body. Even his gaze left tingles and sparks all over. I walked behind Luna Gloria, wondering why she needed my help. She led me to the bathroom and closed the door behind me. I looked at her confused. Why were we here, in the bathroom of all places? She smiled at me and walked closer. Are you my son's mate? I froze and stared at her. What should I say? It's okay, honey. I know. I can tell, she said and took my hands in hers. How? I asked quietly. He is looking at you like you're everything in his world, she smiled. But then her face scrunched up and she sighed. But I don't understand why he took a chosen mate if he found you. I sighed and told her everything that had happened since my birthday. When I was finished, she was completely pissed off. That idiot, she growled. He is my son and I love him, but he's a complete and total idiot if he rejected you. I smiled, and she continued growling. He thinks you're weak? She said through her teeth. And that Sienna is stronger? She will ruin him. Ruin this pack. She's going to be the worst Luna there ever was. I narrowed my eyes at her, confused. You don't like Sienna? Oh, honey, no, she said, looking at me. I can see how fake she is. She's only after power. I tried talking to Logan, but he just didn't want to listen. I sighed. Thank Goddess. I was not the only one that saw Sienna for who she really was. I tried talking to Andrew about her as well, I told her. No luck. She shook her head and wrapped me in a hug. They are stubborn as hell, but they will see reason. Logan will come to his senses. He will realize you are what he needs. Not that bitch, Sienna. I laughed at Luna Gloria, calling Sienna a bitch. She was always so calm and collected. It was necessary. She was a Luna. Calling someone a bitch was totally not a Luna thing, but it was nice to know that she agreed with me. Sienna really was a bitch. He made his decision, Aunt Gloria, I said, still wrapped in her hug. He chose her, and there is nothing I or anyone else can do about it. She let me go and took my face in her hands. She looked into my eyes and smiled. He will realize his mistake. Trust me, she said. I didn't know what to say to her, so I just stayed silent. I didn't think that would happen. The pack always came first to Logan, and he thought that she was better for his pack than I was. Emma, we're going home. I heard Andrew's voice in my head. Where are you? I'm in the bathroom. I linked him back. I'll be right out. I have to go, I said to Aunt Gloria. Andrew is looking for me. She nodded and took my hand in hers. We walked to the front door. Logan, Alpha Drake, and Sienna were saying goodbye to my brother. When we approached them, Sienna gave me a murderous look. Alpha Drake smiled at me, and Logan was undressing me with his eyes. I walked to my brother, and he took my hand in his. We grabbed our jackets and my purse and went to our car. I fell asleep on the drive home. The last thing I remembered was two strong hands carrying me to my bed. My brother kissed my forehead and covered me up. I fell into a deep sleep. Taken. Emma, POV. I woke up feeling really uncomfortable. I groaned and turned on my back, removing the covers from my body. I looked down and saw I was still in my dress. Shit, Andrew didn't wake me up to change into my pajamas. I got up and headed to the bathroom. I brushed my teeth and removed my makeup. I took off my dress and hopped under the shower. The warm water soothed me, and I didn't want to leave. Memories of Logan's kiss came rushing back. I felt tingles spread through my body, and the area between my legs started throbbing. Shit, Logan. Why did you do that? Why did you show me how good it can be when I know I will never have it again? I sighed and turned the shower off. I got out, dried my body with a towel, and put lotion on. I went back to my bedroom and got dressed. I can't train yet, but I decided to go to the training grounds, watch Amy and Jake train, and hang out with them after. Just like we always do. I need it. I need a sense of normality. I put on my black tights, my favorite gray hoodie, and sneakers. I let my hair fall down freely and put a little bit of lip gloss on my lips. I couldn't hear Andrew. He's probably already left for his meeting. I decided to grab a cup of coffee before leaving. I don't want to eat anything. My appetite is not great still. I walked downstairs to my kitchen and froze as soon as I walked inside. Sienna was there, with an evil smirk on her face. She looked behind me and nodded. Before I could turn around, I felt something cold wrap around my wrists. Silver handcuffs. I instantly lost my connection with Eliza. I couldn't use the mind link anymore. Before I could scream, a large hand was roughly placed over my mouth. It is a rogue wolf. I could smell him. They have a unique smell. I looked at Sienna, my eyes wide, my heart beating painfully in my chest.
Well, hello there, little Emma, she said,
smirking.
It is time to get rid of you.
The rogue wolf chuckled behind me, and I could feel his nose in my hair. Goddess, Sienna, do we really need to kill her? Can I keep her? She smells fantastic, he growled. My stomach twisted, and I felt bile rising.
You can't have her until Logan marks me, she said calmly. He will feel it if you touch her or kill her. After he makes me his Luna, you can do to her whatever you want. After that, kill the little brat.
I sobbed, and tears started to fall on my cheeks and Rogue's hands. Sienna reached into her purse, pulled the duct tape out, and gave it to the rogue. He tore off a piece and taped it over my mouth. It was so quick I couldn't say anything. I couldn't even take a breath. Sobs wrecked my body, but they were muffled by the tape over my mouth. Rogue threw me on the floor, and I fell to my knees. I looked up at Sienna.
I know you're probably thinking that your brother and Logan will look for you, she said with a smirk. But you're wrong. You see, each time you complained about me or insulted me, you dug your own grave. Rolf here will hit me. He will take you away, and after a few hours, I will mind-link Logan, telling him you attacked me and ran away, saying you would rather be a rogue than have me as your Luna. After your apparent hate for me, they will have no reason to doubt my words. She's right. A panicked sob ripped through my body. They will never look for me. They think I hate Sienna and will believe her. I will die. I will never see my brother again. He will think I've become the one thing he hates. A rogue. He will think I became the thing that killed our parents. My heart is breaking in my chest, and I can't breathe. My vision is blurred with my tears. You should be glad, Sienna said. Your brother and Logan will be free of you. You're only a burden to Andrew. He was so young, and he was left with you. He hates that. You ruined his life. He told me he never wanted to take care of you. He only did it because that bitch Luna Gloria told him he had to. He will be happy you're gone. Trust me. I sobbed quietly and lowered my head. I don't want to believe her. My brother loves me. I know he does. She's lying. But it still hurts like hell. What if she's right? Did I really ruin his life? He was so young when he started taking care of me. He couldn't live like a young wolf should. He had a responsibility. Me. And Logan will be thrilled, Sienna continued. He thinks you're weak, but he can't fight the bond, and it's making him furious. Now he will think you betrayed him and his pack, and he will hate you. He will finally be mine, and you will be gone. I didn't even look up at her. I will die, and everybody that matters to me will hate me. I will leave this life being hated by the people I love most. They will never know the truth. Dying doesn't scare me, but being hated by my brother, my only family in this world, does. I wish I could tell him I love him one last time. I wish I could tell him the truth. I wish he wouldn't hate me. But I know he will. I just hope Logan marks her soon. I don't want to be in the presence of this rogue wolf. I don't want to live with this pain for long. I want it to end. Goodbye, Emma, Sienna said coldly. I will take care of your brother and Logan for you. I felt a needle stab my neck, and I fell into darkness. The meeting. Logan, POV. I was sitting in the interrogation room, down in the cellars. Andrew was next to me, and we were waiting for Alpha Drake and his beta Josh to arrive. I was nervous about what he had to tell me. I just hoped that, whatever it was, I would have a solution for it. The door opened and Alpha Drake and beta Josh walked in.
They sat opposite us, and I walked over to lock the door. "Don't disturb us unless it's an emergency," I told my guard that was standing outside the door. "Knock 2 times if you need us." "Yes, Alpha," he said and nodded. I closed the door and locked it. I walked back to the table and sat down. "Okay, Alpha Drake," I said seriously. "I'm listening." "Well, as you know, we managed to capture a rogue that attacked my pack." He started talking. "We got him to talk to us, and what he said made me really afraid." I gulped and looked at Andrew. Alpha saying that he was afraid was considered weak, and we all avoided it. An Alpha should be strong, dominating, and calm in dangerous situations. Drake admitting that he was afraid, especially in front of another Alpha, was making me nervous. Whatever the reason behind the attacks was, it had to be bad when Drake was afraid of admitting it to me. I looked back at him and nodded. "Continue, please." "Well, we all noticed that rogues are attacking those packs that have young, unmated alphas," he said, looking right at me. "Your pack and mine are one of these packs." I nodded, and he continued. "Rogue King believes that one of us has a true mate that is very powerful." He continued. "Dark Witch told him that there will be a she-wolf mated to an alpha, and they will be the most powerful mated couple. She will make his pack strong, and together they will create a new line of stronger, more powerful wolves." "Does she have magic?" I asked, confused. "No," he said, and shook his head. "She will be the most charismatic leader ever. People will love her, as they never loved Aluna before. All the traits that Aluna has are more dominant in that she-wolf than any other. She cares more, understands more, and is willing to give herself for her pack more than any other Luna. Her power will come from the love her people will have for her. She is a true Luna." I gulped and looked at Andrew. He was staring at Drake, not breathing. "What is his plan?" I asked, and looked back at Drake. "He wants that she-wolf," he answered. "His plan is to take her and make her his Luna. He wants to mate with her and produce descendants who will be more powerful, and he thinks he'll be able to take over our packs." I was shaking, and I couldn't breathe. What if that she-wolf was Emma? Could she be strong and powerful? I never felt any power coming from her. I didn't believe that she was strong. That was the main reason I rejected her and chose Sienna to be my Luna. "Neither you nor I have found our true mates," Drake continued. "But it makes me terrified that she's in danger, whoever she is. I don't even know her yet, and it makes my blood boil that maybe my mate is the one, and that fucker wants her for himself. I don't even know what I would do if I knew who she was. I would probably try to lock her inside my body where I know she would be safe." My hands were shaking, and I couldn't even look up at Drake. I could feel how tense Andrew was. If there was any chance that this was about Emma, he would rip everyone apart. He already hated rogues so much. I completely agreed with Drake. I wanted to leave this room and find Emma. I needed her safe before I lost my mind. "Do they know anything about that she-wolf?" Andrew asked, his voice trembling. "How will the Rogue King know that she is the one?" Drake nodded. "The rogue we captured said that they were instructed to search for a pure white wolf." Andrew stood up, growling so loud that we had to cover our ears. He grabbed the chair he was sitting on and threw it into a wall. I looked up at him, shocked. What the hell was going on? His reaction could only mean one thing. No. Hell no. He was growling, pulling his hair and hitting every surface his fists could reach. It was only a matter of time before he started hitting us. Drake, Josh, and I stood up and grabbed Andrew. Drake was standing behind him, wrapping his hands around his chest. Andrew's eyes were pitch black, and his canines were on display. Andrew, calm down, I tell him. What is going on? Please tell me that I was wrong. He was breathing heavily and still growling. Josh picked up the chair Andrew threw and placed it back. Drake forced him to sit down, placing his hands on Andrew's shoulders, keeping him seated. Andrew, I called him. Tell me. It is Emma, he growled. She is a pure white wolf. My world stopped spinning. No. Not her. Please, goddess, not her. If anything happened to her. But how? Beta Josh asked, confused. She's not your mate. You told us yesterday that you chose a mate because you couldn't find your true one. Before I could answer him, 2 knocks on the door interrupted us. Alpha, I'm sorry. It's an emergency, my guard said. I growled and walked to the door, unlocking it. What? I asked, annoyed. Alpha, your friend Sienna just got attacked, he said. I gasped and turned around to look at Andrew. He got up and walked over to us. What? He growled. I don't know any details, Alpha and Beta, the guard said. She tried to mind link both of you, but as you were in here, she couldn't. She linked Luna and told her what happened. Luna went to help her. They're all in the pack house now. I turned to look at Drake and Josh. We will continue this later, I said. They both nodded. Go take care of your Luna, Drake said. Andrew and I walked away, quickly. Logan, POV. I walked inside the living room and saw Sienna sitting on the couch. My mom was sitting on the sofa with a frown on her face. What the hell happened? I growled and sat beside Sienna. I took her face in my hands and saw that she had a huge wound on her head. It started healing slowly, but it was still bleeding. Andrew sat on the other sofa and looked worriedly at Sienna. Who did this? Andrew asked her. Sienna sobbed quietly. I'm sorry, Andrew. Why are you sorry, Sienna? He asked. What happened? It was Emma, she said quietly, looking down at her hands. I froze. What? Emma did this? Why? Andrew growled loudly. What? Why would she do that? I looked at my mom, and she was frowning at Sienna. Why was she looking at her like that? I went over to your house to try and talk to her. Sienna started talking. She was leaving to go somewhere, and she got terribly mad when she saw me. She yelled at me that I took Logan away from her. I tried talking to her, letting her know it wasn't my intention to do that, but she refused to listen. She insulted me a couple of times, and I got angry as well. I told her she shouldn't talk to her future Luna like that. She lost it then. She hit me and said she would rather be a rogue than have me as her Luna. Both Andrew and I looked at her with a shocked expression on our faces. Emma wasn't a violent person. I couldn't believe that she would do that. My mom growled quietly, her gaze fixed on Sienna. Where is she? Andrew growled. She ran away into the woods, Andrew, Sienna said, sobbing. I think she crossed the border. I think she's a rogue now. I gasped loudly. No! Andrew was frozen. He was staring at Sienna, and I didn't think that he was breathing. She wouldn't do that, I said. She wouldn't become a rogue. She knows what that would do to Andrew. We have to find her. She couldn't have crossed the border. I rambled on. I didn't think anybody was listening to me.
"She's missing?"
A voice interrupted me. I turned around and saw Drake and Josh standing behind us. They were furious.
"She's not missing,"
Sienna said angrily.
"She attacked me, her future Luna, and ran away to become a rogue."
Andrew growled loudly and stood up. He started pacing the room and pulling his hair. "That doesn't sound like Emma," Drake said.
"You met her yesterday,"
Sienna said, annoyed.
"You don't even know her."
"Maybe I don't," he growled at her. "But I am a great judge of character, and Emma is good and kind, and she would never attack you. I don't believe a word you're saying." I stood up and growled back at Drake. "Be careful. Do not speak to my future Luna like that."
"All due respect, Alpha Drake, but Emma is not as kind as you think she is,"
Sienna said, quietly.
"She recently insulted me. Ask Andrew and Logan. They heard it."
She was right. Emma did yell at Sienna. "I wonder what you said to her to deserve it." Drake spat back at her. I growled at him, but was interrupted when Lewis walked through the door. "Beta Andrew, you called for me," he said. "Yes, Lewis," Andrew said quickly. "I need you to take every man in our pack and search the entire forest for my sister." "Emma?" he asked, surprised. "What happened to her?" "We will explain later," I said. "I need you to go now. I need you to find her and bring her back. Go outside the territory as well." He paled slightly. He understood immediately that she might be a rogue now. Going outside the pack's territory without a valid reason and Alpha's approval meant that you chose to be a rogue. He nodded and quickly left the house. Drake growled and turned to his beta. "Get our warriors. We're going after her." Josh nodded and went outside. I could see his eyes clouding. He was using a mind link to talk to his warriors. Drake turned to me. "She's your mate, isn't she? Your true mate." I nodded, and he frowned at me. "You rejected her?" I nodded again. I couldn't even speak now. My heart was clenching painfully. I couldn't even reach Leon. I didn't want to look at my mom. I could feel her eyes digging a hole in my head. She was furious. "Why?" he growled.
"Because she's a weak wolf,"
Sienna answered for me.
"Logan knew she wouldn't be a good, strong Luna, and he chose me instead."
Drake's eyes widened in shock. "Is she serious?" "Yes," I finally spoke. "I thought she wouldn't be a strong Luna. I had to think about my pack, and I decided to reject her." Drake turned to Andrew. His face was a mixture of shock and anger. "And you let it happen?" Andrew stayed quiet, but I could see his pain. I didn't think that I had ever seen him this distraught. He was clenching his fists, shaking and breathing heavily. If something happened to her, I didn't know how he would react. I didn't know how I would react. I couldn't live without her. She was my world. I needed her here. When Andrew didn't respond, Drake chuckled darkly. "You two are incredible. I met her yesterday, and I saw what she is better than you ever did. You had the purest, kindest soul right in front of you, and you both took her for granted. I just hope she's okay." He stormed out and slammed the door shut. What he said hit me hard. Andrew as well. I could see a tear falling down his cheek.
"I'm sorry she ran away, Logan,"
Sienna said, looking up at me sadly.
"But should we really look for her? She decided to become a rogue."
Andrew growled. "We will find her. She's not and will not become a rogue. Over my dead body. We will find her, and she will be punished for attacking you. But I will not let her make herself a rogue. That is not the punishment I want for her." "You should go home, Sienna," my mom said coldly. "Go get some rest. You really need it."
Thank you, Luna Gloria. Sienna smiled at my mom. Logan, will you assign a guard for me in case Emma comes back?
My mom growled and frowned at Sienna. I looked at her confused. What was wrong with her? Why was she growling and frowning at Sienna? Of course, Sienna, I said, but you don't have to worry. Emma will not hurt you again. She smiled and gave me a kiss on the cheek. She walked over to Andrew and gave him a hug before leaving the pack house.